Amara stepped into the inner chamber of the ancient temple just as the lantern light shivered across carved stone and drifting incense. Her silhouette moved like a whispered secret, her anklets chiming in a rhythm older than the walls themselves. She paused beneath a lotus archway, letting her fingers glide slowly along her neck, a gesture carrying both devotion and sensual promise. Tonight, she was preparing the forbidden rites of feminine sensuality once practiced in India's sacred temples. Rites that spoke through fragrance, touch, breath, and slow, deliberate movement. Rites passed quietly from woman to woman, never written, only embodied. Spread out before her lay objects whose deeper meanings few today remember. A perfumed oil said to awaken the sleeping flame. Within the body, a sacred thread used to guide intimate energy around the torso. A small lotus figurine believed to stir desire through focused meditation. Inked symbols once traced on skin to shape emotion. And tiny ritual bells whose sound marked the secret ceremonies of temple dancers. These mysteries will be revealed at the end of our journey, in a set of rare curiosities that uncover the hidden sensual wisdom of ancient India. But first, we follow Amara into the rituals themselves. If you enjoy the deep research behind these episodes, please consider subscribing and tapping the bell. It's free for you, but it helps this project grow and continue bringing forgotten stories back to life. Amara approached a low stone altar draped with fresh marigold garlands. She reached for the first object in her ritual, a small copper bowl filled with warm sandalwood oil. Before touching it, she pressed her palm over her heart, her bracelets clinking softly, as if aligning her inner rhythm with the ceremony. Then she dipped her fingers into the golden liquid and slowly traced it along her forearms and throat. The oil released a deep, earthy aroma, sensual, calming, ancient. In the temple tradition, sandalwood did not simply perfume the skin. It was believed to purify the spirit and gently awaken desire, preparing the body to become a vessel for sacred feeling. Next to the bowl rested a tray of fresh flowers, jasmine, rose, and lotus petals glistening with dew. Amara brushed her fingertips across them, then lifted a single jasmine blossom to her lips, inhaling deeply. She scattered petals around her feet and along the mat where she would soon dance. In ancient India, flowers were living symbols of beauty and impermanence. For temple women, they also marked the boundary of intimate space. To cross that circle of petals was to step into a shared realm of emotion and devotion. She then turned to a small clay pot containing henna paste, rich and red. Before opening it, Amara extended her bare hand under the lantern light, studying the soft lines of her palm as if reading a story. She dipped a fine twig into the henna and began tracing delicate patterns along the back of her hand and wrist, vines, spirals, small lotus shapes. These designs were more than decoration. They were protective symbols, invitations for good fortune, and subtle affirmations of beauty. As the henna dried and deepened in color, it became a quiet, intimate mark of preparation, visible only to those close enough to see. At the edge of the altar lay a string of tiny ankle bells, their metal warmed by the heat of the chamber. Amara sat gracefully and fastened them around her ankles, one by one, her fingers moving with practiced tenderness. When she stood, the bells answered her every step with shimmering sound. For temple dancers, these gungru were not mere ornaments, they were instruments. Each movement of the foot translated into music, turning the body itself into a rhythmic offering. Nearby, folded with care, rested a length of sacred cotton thread. Amara lifted it with both hands, feeling its softness and strength. This thread, sometimes tied gently around the waist or wrist during ceremonies, symbolized the flow of subtle energy, circling, connecting, guiding attention around the body. She wrapped it lightly, not to bind, but to remind herself of the continuous loop between breath, sensation, and intention. The thread made her acutely aware of posture, of the spaces where skin met fabric, of the way movement stirred feeling from within. On a carved wooden stand, a small bronze mirror waited, its surface slightly darkened by time. Before taking it, Amara touched her lips and closed her eyes for a moment. Then she lifted the mirror and studied the softened reflection, not a precise portrait, but a glowing outline of her eyes, her cheeks, the curve of her mouth. In temple culture, such mirrors were connected to inner seeing. To look at oneself before a ritual was to acknowledge not just physical beauty, but the emotional presence one carried into the space. Amara offered a faint, knowing smile to her reflection, accepting and honoring herself as an instrument of feeling and art. Beside the mirror sat a small ceramic burner, shaped like a lotus bud. Amara filled it with powdered incense, then lit it with a taper. Thin, spiraling smoke began to rise, sandalwood, vetiver, and a hint of camphor. The scent curled around her like an invisible veil. Incense was believed to carry prayers upward, but here it also marked the shift from ordinary time to ritual time. Within its fragrant cloud, her movements would no longer be simply dance, they would become invocation. Finally, she reached for a tiny bell on a silk cord. Before using it, Amara wrapped the cord around her fingers, feeling its weight. She rang the bell once. Its clear, bright sound cut through the soft noise of crackling lamps and distant music. In many temple practices, such bells signaled the opening of a rite, the arrival of a goddess, or the moment when attention must turn inward. For Amara, the bell was both beginning and anchor. Its tone called her fully into her body, into the present, into the quiet heat of the chamber. Now prepared, she rose to her feet. The sandalwood oil glowed faintly on her skin. The henna designs traced stories along her hands. Anklet bells waited to sing with every step. The sacred thread reminded her of inner currents, and incense smoke wove invisible patterns around her. When Amara finally began to move, slowly, then with increasing fluidity, every gesture carried the weight of all these objects. Her dance was not performance. It was a ritual of sensual presence, an ancient dialogue between body, breath, music, and something larger than either. In Amara's world, eroticism was not a spectacle. It was a sacred art of awareness. At the beginning, we promised a few secrets, whispers from a time when women like Amara guarded powerful knowledge. Here are some of those hidden curiosities. Small blue diamond, the sleeping flame, oils. Some temple traditions spoke of special blends of oils, often sandalwood, jasmine, or rose, anointed on pulse points to wake the sleeping flame within the body. This wasn't magic. It was an early understanding that scent can trigger memory, desire, and emotional openness. Small blue diamond, the sacred thread of energy, the simple thread tied around the waist or wrist, symbolized the flow of subtle forces in the body. It reminded women to move with intention, to feel how posture, breath, and touch could change their inner state. Small blue diamond, the lotus figurine of contemplation. Small lotus-shaped objects were sometimes held during meditation on love or union. The lotus, rooted in mud, blossoming above water, mirrored the human journey from instinct to refined feeling. Just holding it was a reminder of that transformation. Small blue diamond inked symbols on skin designs traced with henna or natural pigments were not only decorative. Some carried meanings: protection from jealousy, blessing for tenderness, courage to express emotion. The body became a living manuscript of quiet wishes. Small blue diamond, the ritual bells of temple dancers, the sound of anklets and tiny bells marked the beginning of secret rites. Their rhythm helped dancers like Amara enter a focused state where body and spirit aligned, and where movement became a subtle language of invitation, grace, and connection. These stories remind us that in ancient India, as in many great civilizations, sensuality was not separated from the sacred. It was a path, guided, refined, and often held in the hands of women who understood its power. If you enjoy the deep research behind these episodes, please consider subscribing. It's free for you, but it helps this project grow and continue bringing forgotten stories back to life.